Welcome back to day 2 of the Racing Weekly Cheltenham Festival preview, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Alongside me to look ahead to the second day of the festival, Steve Ryder, Willy Twiston-Davies, Pat Cooney, and Gavin Lynch. Let's not waste any time whatsoever. Let's get into what we've got coming up. And we do that by referring to the Bet365 offer for Bet Stars Guaranteed from 8 a.m. every day of the Cheltenham Festival. There's no opt-in required, and it applies to singles, multiples, and bet boosts. T's and C's apply. Pat, a very brief word about this.
Yeah, good offer, and the market is going to be extremely volatile. Who knows what the ground could be drying out. And other horses go cold in the market on the day, but can still win. So it's a good safety net to have.
We open up with the race that is now known as the Gallagher Novices Hurdle, and it is a opportunity, I suppose, to talk about Ballymore again, Gavin.
Yeah, again, yeah. A week ago, he was going to the Supreme. He was 2.3 in Betfair. Today, he's 2.2 in Betfair. If you want to make a profit on Cheltenham, just have one bet. He's 8 to 11. I don't know what your stakes are, but just, I mean, I think there's a chance he'll be the shortest price favourite at the festival. I know that El Fabiolo is like 4 to 9. Statement is 1 to 3. I think they might go off 2s on. I think this fella could go off 4 to 9.
Is he that good?
He appears to be. He wins the Grade 1 the last day. Henry's not going to take him on again. That horse will go to the Supreme. His time was quicker than Stateman, just to say. Pat, I've met Pat a few times. He's as nice a man as you'll ever meet, so I'm just hoping that he might give people here even money tonight, but we'll see on the break.
Yeah. You've misjudged me.
Well, you appear a nice man then. But 8 to 11, if you're doing multiples, definitely stick Ballymore in. It's impossible to see him beat. Il Atlantique has lost 3 photo finishes, doesn't seem resolute enough. I think the race could fall apart a bit. Slade Steel won't go here. Mystical Power doesn't look like going here. Predator's Goal is not good enough. Reading Tommy Wrong is going to the Bartlett. So 8 to 11 is a good price.
Okay, Pat. 8 to 11.
Yeah,
but you're going to give everyone even money.
I agree with that. What I would say, when we were talking about super boosts earlier, pencil him in to be a super boost as well. So
how much is it for, Pat? You don't know?
I'm not sure what it's capped at, but yeah, he's got the appearance of being one that we would look to put in. Like you, I could see him winning this easily, to be perfectly honest. I mean, as you say, Slade Steel, the connections have said we're not taking him on again, and he's a top horse. One I would say, I suppose, is Il Atlantique, who did seem to have a high reputation at the start of the year, but he got beat last time out, and no one's talking about him anymore. I just don't see a shock in the race. You got the Albert Bartlett coming up on Gold Cup Day. When we do pencil ourselves in for a shock, I just can't really see any way that he can be beaten, really, to be honest. And I think the 8 to 11, it's not my cup of tea, not my preferred choice to be betting on, certainly over 28 races. But I could say that price would only get less.
Okay. Willy, everyone seems to be saying that this is a certainty. Do you agree?
I usually hate the Willie Mullins bingo. Ballymore can go wherever he wants. I completely disagree with Gavin overlooking Predator's Gold. On ratings, time form, and race post ratings, I've watched the horse. He's the top-rated horse in the race after Ballymore. He's 10 to 1. If Ballymore turns up, you've got a great each-way chance. If he doesn't run, he's a 4-5 to 1 shot. I think he's got a brilliant chance. I think the Cheltenham's made for him. I couldn't have LLT, can't have Mystical Power. As you say, Slade Steel, handstands is our best hope. Of Ben Pauling's rate 131. I was there at Huntingdon. He's not good enough. Predator's Gold is definitely a massive price. I seen Ruby Walsh put him up a couple of times saying he's a lovely horse. He's completely overlooked, and I think he's like a staying chaser in the making. But what is he now? 10, 12 to 1. He's a ridiculous price. Bear in mind, 2 of them probably won't run. Il Atlantique's actually not that good. He's actually rated higher. He's the second Racing Post rated horse in the race. And all of a sudden he's 12 to 1. I think it's each way. I'd take it now. Rip Pat's pants down. Get the each way, non-runner, no bet.
Easy.
And get as much
That'll
money
happen
on as you
during the
can.
break.
And here on Racing Weekly, we do not endorse the ripping of anyone's pants. But why not? It makes a great case. The horse second to Dancing City last time, second to Caldwell Potter, of course, before that.
You're stealing my notes.
Oh, sorry.
I really like Predators Gold as well, to be fair. Won a bumper at Punchestown, won a maiden hurdle there. The second has won since. Was too keen over 2 mile 6 at the DRF. Was trap wide as well. This drop-in trip will definitely suit him. And a faster pace will obviously then help him settle. So Predator's Gold at 10-1 I thought was interesting. I do think they'll obviously struggle to beat Ballyburn. He's just looked absolutely brilliant. He's a point-to-point winner. He's won on soft to heavy ground. He's won the intermediate trip. Won't be a concern to him at all. And yeah, Ballyburn, and you can probably put Predator's Gold in the forecast.
All right. Let's talk about arguably one of the best races on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival, and it is the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. Broadway Boy is the horse that we are going to begin the discussion with, because, Willy, everyone knows about your affection for him. He's had a very good season, and anyone worried about the run last time out will be encouraged to hear that there were excuses for that.
Yeah, there was many excuses. We don't usually like giving them, we usually keep them up our sleeve and pretend nothing's happened, but with a horse like this, you get asked this question, so you give the answers. He track rushed very dirty. He was also found to have stomach ulcers. You know, I thought he ran. My valid point, Paul Keeley asked me, how would you describe it? I said, well, you watch Constitution Hill work over 2 miles on the flat. He was beaten 15 lengths out of sight. We were in a 3 mile chase and still giving up to them 2 out with a dirty track wash. Sort of similar scenario. Yeah, Constitution Hill's the same. His work, his school has been exemplary since. I generally believe he is hopefully a future Gold Cup Grand National horse. How good he is, I don't know. He beat 3 under through 5. He beat Rapper, Protectorat. They've all gone on to run massive races since. Protectorat's only just got beaten by L'Homme Press, who's got a great chance in the Gold Cup. Protectorat might have run a bad race in the Elm Chase, but I think it's probably Dan was trying to milk a bit too much out of him. Rapper's ran very well at Ascot, and 3 under through 5's gone and won. So I think our form lines are very strong. Stay Away Faye obviously ran a lovely, encouraging race in the Cotswold Chase. I'd be worried of him. Factophile, how can you get too jiggy about a horse that's won a 2-runner race, ran Leopardstown, against a horse that hates running left-handed and fell, which struggles to make me wonder why he should be 4 to 5. I think it's probably a bit short. He might be the next coming, but Turner's looked the race for him to me. And exactly the opposition, apart from that, I wouldn't be too scared of. But the only thing we can do is get a horse there in the best possible shape he can possibly be in. And I'm sure he can run to mark in the 160s. Is that good enough to win? I don't know. But he'll run a massive race, and very proud of what he's done all year so far. He's won 110,000 and won 3 races, so whatever he does from here on is a bonus. But we're very proud of him, and I'm sure he's got a very good chance.
I think I'll be right in saying, Steve, that most years a run to 160 plus is good enough to just about win the Brown Advisory, isn't it?
Yeah, but this is just a brilliant race this year, isn't it? What's Willy doing running him here? It's like watching my 2 sons run against each other. I love Broadway Boy. Won 3 this season, 2 of those at Cheltenham. Like, he's going to be rock solid coming here. I can't desert Monty Star. I put him up at 50-1 for this on our first show of the season. I just think this is absolutely tailor-made for him. He beat Hidden Valley Lake in a Grade 3 hurdle last season, and then was feeling the effects of that when pulled up in the Albert Bartlett. Willy will well know, if you have a horse pulled up in the Albert Bartlett, they can come on to win this race. Black Lion did that. Boston Angel also did it, so that wouldn't be a negative for me. This has definitely been a well-campaigned horse by Henry de Bromhead. I give him a bit of stick for Quilixios's campaign on day 1, but I've loved how they've ran him this year. Finished 3rd at Fairy House behind Corbett's Cross. On his chasing debut, he drifted out markedly that day to 10-1. He's a big, gross chaser, and he definitely would have needed the run that day. He reversed form with 3-card Bragg at Punchestown at Christmas when he jumped superbly. Comes here fresh, has a similar profile to Maletta Rindo, and his half-brother Monolly, who finished 2nd in this race and 4th, beating only a couple of lengths in the Gold Cup. Monty Star's 11-2 ante-post. I absolutely love him, and I think he will take a while to beat him.
If you've backed him at 50-1 at the start of the season, you will be believing all the way. Gavin, what's the story with this Factophile? Is this the real deal?
Tony Mullen certainly thinks so anyway. He appears to be, they did the right thing by skipping the novice hurdle campaign because he was 7. Very good bumper horse. Gets beat first time in Navan by American Mike, and then he's brilliant the next twice on the clock. I know it's basically a 3-horse race and a 2-horse race, which is not ideal, but he seems to have the X factor. Willy talks about him in high regard, that he's the future Gold Cup horse. I would imagine Willy would have preferred to run him in the Turners than in this, but JP obviously has a ROCO for that, and he likes to move things around. So the only little niggling doubt you have is he definitely going to stay 3 miles. He shows a lot of toe. He showed a lot of toe down the back straight against Gaelic Warrior the last day, that wasn't even after 2 miles. So he has loads of boot. I think he will win. I think Stay Away Faye is a bit slow. Monty Star has a really good chance, jumps really well. It's just the price getting a little bit short for me at 9 to 2. There was lots of people on at 20s and 12s and 10s, etc. I think 9 to 2 is a bit short. Broadway Boy, I was just going to ask Willie there, had plenty of runs end of September, October, November, December, January, and now he's had 2 months off. So I'd imagine that has to be a help to his chances for Cheltenham. Is that right?
Massively so. If you look back through his form from last year, he actually got beaten off a mark of 118 at Exeter, and it just shows that was within 2 weeks of him getting sick each year. I don't know whether it's down to each individual horse, but he ran one stinker each year, and it was in that within 2 weeks of each other. He obviously had a few hard races, and I thought, oh God, I've run him too soon. But then the track wash was as bad as it was a grade 4 mucus. Exactly, Dad and I don't like to shout these things off because we like to keep things close to our chest. If Willie Mullins said one was sick, everyone would listen and put it in the press and talk about it all day long. But no, he was sick and he was wrong. And I generally believe he's only beaten, he beaten 25 lengths by Grey Dawning, and he was still in with a massive chance at the time. I think he's a very, very, very good horse, our horse. But I do agree with all of you. It's probably one of the hottest brand advisors I've seen, but I wouldn't swap our horse for anything. He jumps, he travels, he's got the heart, and that's what you need. Everyone counted out Black Lion against more of that. Everyone counted off Real Wacker last year against Jerry Colomb. There is a surprise in this race every year, and hopefully it's our boy. But I'm not going to go in there bullish. I just want to go in there, and hopefully our horse runs his race, and we'll take our medicine wherever we finish.
And do you think, will you make the running?
I mean, I'm sure we will, because we'll want to test. Stay Away Faye will also want to test. Our boy will go out there and jump and travel at his own speed. If someone wants to go faster, they can. That's the way we ride all our horses. We want to go with speed you can maintain for the whole of the race. If you do that, then you're not too far wrong. If you're accelerating or decelerating at either end of the race, you've done it wrong. If we can maintain the speed the whole way of the race, which he's done every run this year, then we'll keep doing the same thing. But I'd be quietly confident about wherever he goes. He's a very talented horse, and he's got the heart to go with it. And a lot of the others probably don't.
Okay. Pat, last word on this?
Well, I can't make my mind up with Factor File. I mean, we've got plenty of speed gurus in the office. I paid most attention to speed figures on the flat, but they were saying his sectionals, particularly down the back, were amazing compared to the likes of El Fabiolo. And then I was thinking, well, hang on, he's got to run 3.5 miles a furlong. If he's that fast, should he not be dropping down to go in the other race? So stamina may be his undoing. If Willie's boy is going to kick on from the front, Stay Away Faye is going to make the run in. So you like everything about Factor File. He's certainly the hot horse. He's the most touted horse, it seems. But his price couldn't thrill you, could it, with stamina unproven? And the other trainers and connections know he has to prove his stamina based on those speed figures. So if he stays, he could outclass them. We could all be making him Gold Cup favourite. Who knows for next year? But he's got to stay. That's the doubt.
Just one little thing about the race, the last I forgot to mention, is that I timed it from the last fence round to the last fence, because after the last Mark Moore has pulled him up. He was 20 lengths quicker than Hartwood's race, the handicap chase. And Hartwood, I think, from memory, carried 10 stone 5, and I think he carried 11 stone 12. So he definitely has it on the clock. Yep. He'd be a certainty on the turners at any price, but will he stay? Hopefully he does.
There's something special about him. Hopefully. Best of luck, Willie, with Broadway Boy. Hope he runs very well in the Brown Advisory Novices Chase. The Coral Handicap Hurdle on the second day of the Cheltenham Festival is an awkward race, as it often is, because, of course, there are a couple of horses running in this race. Steve, I'll start with you, who have been, well, I think Connections would have wanted them to be under the radar, but because it was so obvious, they're not under the radar.
So I've got a bit of a weird angle into this. Horses that return hurdling have a really good record in this race. Heaven Help Us won this in 2021, having been chasing that season. Commander of Fleet in 2022 and William Henry in 2019 both won this, having ran in one chase prior to this. And then you go further back and Son of Flicker has a similar profile. So the three horses that kind of took my eye from being chasing, coming back to the Coral Cup, were Hidden Valley Lake, who isn't running, is being saved for Aintree. No Ordinary Joe, who I think would have a chance in this, but is more likely to go to the Martin Pipe. If he was to run in this, his case is pretty clear. He was such an eye-catcher at Kempton. He'd pulled up behind Hermes Alain over fences at Newbury on his only start over fences. He's only a pound higher than when finishing second behind Iroko in the Martin Pipe last year. But the one that I do really like is Mai Tai. It's worth remembering this horse was sent off favourite to beat Constitution Hill early on in his career. He's another with good Cheltenham Festival form as well. He finished 4th in that Martin Pipe last year behind Iroko. He's actually ran quite well in two of his 3 chases starts so far this season. He finished only a length behind Complete Unknown in a novice chase at Newton Abbot. That went off favourite for the Old Hennessy Gold Cup, and then won a match race at Exeter. His jumping went completely to pot in a Grade 2 at Ascot last time, so you can see why they're reverting back to hurdles. He actually runs here off a £3 lower mark this year than what he finished 4th in the Martin Pipe last year. This is his only entry, so a lot of these will have a Martin Pipe and a Coral Cup entry. He's guaranteed to get into the race. Like I've said a few times, Bet365 have 2 markets up. They've got an ante-post market and they've got a no run or no bet. He's 16 to 1 ante-post, and yeah, I'm quite keen on my tie.
Okay. Willy, guard your dreams possibly here?
Yeah, we run Guard Your Dreams. He's running off a mark of 137. He's an international hurdle winner. He was up to 148 at his best. Obviously, there to see. He's in interrupted preparation for the last year. He's had a slight tendon niggle. His first run in the international wasn't too bad behind Rhubarb, beaten length and a half. We probably ran on the wrong track at Wincanton, which is a very sharp 2 miles. He looked like he was gagging for a trip. I'd say he's actually on a very lenient mark each way. I'd have a nibble at him each way, and if you're trying to pick the winner, I'd wait in the Arkle bar or the Vesti bar and have a drink and just let the race go by. You're probably wasting your time. Yeah, I wouldn't be worried about it tonight anyway. I'd worry about it on Wednesday morning if you can have a bet. Because we're all going to talk a load of nonsense and probably none of them are going to run. So no one knows what's going on. A lot of them are going for the Martin Pipe and that. It's one of them races. It's absolutely brilliant on the day once the card's announced. But now we're all just guessing. The price will change. And every year I say the same thing. It's a complete waste of time at this point in time.
Okay, well, the next person to speak nonsense will be you, Pat.
Thanks very much. Big build-up. No change there. The Langerdan fan club are out in force as per usual. Just forget what he does prior to this every year. He's amazingly well handicapped given what he's been doing, so he's been popular in the market. My eye keeps being drawn to anything trained by Martin Brazel, and that comes to number 33 at the moment, built by Ballymore, whose best form is on soft ground. So if Willy's right, it might still have the word soft in the going description. And you can back a Martin Brazel horse who normally hits the crossbar as a minimum in these races. Horse clearly prepped for this race. If he gets the ground he wants, I could see him becoming the popular horse of the day. You probably need 2 or 3 goes at it. I'm sure we'll be 6 places on the race, though.
Gav?
Guard Your Dreams down to 137. Looks quite well handicapped. There's a thing called the Stateman rule where you have to have 4 runs in a handicap. If Langerdan wins again, there's going to be a thing in future years called the Langerdan preparation for Cheltenham, I'd say, because how they're getting away with what they're doing is amazing.
Can I just say on him, like, he has bled this year. Like, it is a bit of a different prep, so I wouldn't be as keen as other people.
Okay. The horse that you mentioned, Pat, built by Ballymore. Sean Mulrine and Martin Brazel have been beaten in this race, the Coral Cup, by a short head 2 years ago and a head last year. So maybe, yeah. So they'd have a chance with that. People maybe think that it can only go on heavy because his last 2 wins run heavy, but first time out was second to Pat Duro on a bumper. The time was 4:05. The ground was yielding good to soft, so he can definitely go on better ground. And if you go watch his ride the last day with JJ Slevin, and even before that in Limerick, not knocked about, didn't get into the full drive position in Punchdown until very, very late in the race, is in here off 139. And the last horse to mention is Sam Majest, the 6-1 favourite. Beats Emmett's horse, Noble Yates, down in Limerick. The horse that was third rate at 107 has ran terrible since, so impossible to kind of guess what rating he was going to get. 2 runs in France, was beaten in Punchestown, bolts up, as I said, against Noble Yates. Got 140 in Ireland. The English handicapper said I could give it anything from 130 to 150 and left it on 140. I think this will go off 7-2 in the Coral Cup if it goes here. Mark Walsh will ride. It's also entering the Martin Pipe, but the vibes certainly today seems to be that maybe it's going here, and they've keyed a Bourbon for the Martin Pipe. So look, it's a very, very open race as usual, but certainly the one that Pat mentioned, built by Ballymore, and if Sam Majest goes here, is good value at 6-1.
Okay, that's a look at the Coral Cup. Let's talk about the feature race on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival, and that, of course, is the Queen Mother Champion Chase. And I'll start with you, Gav. El Fabiolo, question marks about jumping. John Bond, question marks about jumping. Edward Stone, back to his best. Which angle are you going to play in this race?
I'll be against John Bon anyway. Okay, Nick will be back in the plate. Nicky's horses are out of form. We'll see what happens between now and next Wednesday. He's got a few runners over the weekend. Everybody will be watching those. But how can somebody back him at 3-1? He probably can't beat El Fabiolo. He didn't beat him last year in the Arkle. You're saying to yourself after the first 2 runs this season, John Bond, yeah, he's got a chance. His jumping is brilliant. Maybe El Fabiolo's jumping is not as good. So if he goes and puts him under pressure, then you're starting to think it's a match. But I don't think so, since his run the last day was, you know, the mistake at the top of the hill was his 5th mistake. I think he's even money without the favourite. If he's that on the exchanges on the day, I'll be laying him. I don't think he's a contender for me anyway. Just because of his jumping, unless Nick Cook can change it. Edward Stone, there's going to be a lot of pace in this race. El Fabiolo, to me, looks the winner. Perhaps Captain Guinness could stay on to be 2nd or 3rd, but from a long way back. Lots of pace in the race. If they go hell for leather, I think El Fabiolo could win 10 or 15. Because you know the way the distance can get exaggerated when they go really quick. So,
Okay. El Fabiolo by 10 or 15. Pat, what about you?
Well, I did like the new version of Edward Stone last time out, but if anything, that's going to help the claims of El Fabiolo and John Bond. The race will be run. I'm with Gavin. John Bond last time, he was dreadful, wasn't he? Funny enough, when he won our Bet365 race at Sandown at the end of the season last year, and I thought, oh, okay, he could be the real deal. And I spoke to Aidan Coleman now after the race, and he said, I'd love to have another crack at El Fabiolo, but he's still got, 5 or 6 lengths to make up, and he doesn't look as though he's narrowed that margin at the moment. El Fabiolo with a clear round, yeah, and maybe Captain Guinness in the each way or without the favourite market, as Gav alluded to there, as a running on through beaten horses.
What's the price on El Fabiolo, we get asked?
He's 2-1 on.
2-1 on. Willy, what's your thoughts?
Yeah, agree with what everyone said, but I don't really agree about John Bond. I think his jumping is actually very good. If you look at Aidan Coleman and Nico de Boinville, their riding styles are very different to James Bowen. He rides with a big loop in the rein, whereas Aidan and Nico ride with a very tight hand. It's not James's fault, but I reckon the horse is so used to having contact in his mouth, he just let rip and made a mistake. I think that's very unfair on the horse. As you said, as Pat just said, the Sandown race, he's looked very impressive and he has improved. But as I say, how can you go net confident backing him? I'd like to stick up for the horse a bit. I don't think it's his fault last time. He's definitely the best horse in that race. You can put a line through that. But as far as I can see, El Fabiolo's always been the better horse. Apart from when he got beaten at Aintree with 1 run under his belt, he's improving the whole time. If you're training or wanted to ride one, it's only one horse you'd want to be on, and that's El Fabiolo. But as a punting point of view, it seems a non-event for me, really. Edward Stone was great last time, but I think he can't do that round Cheltenham compared to Newbury. El Fabiolo, exactly. I'd like to own him, trade him, or ride him. It's you wouldn't want any of the others, would you? So it's a simple question.
He looks the best horse in the race. Simple as that, Steve.
Yeah, definitely 6 from 6 over fences. His performance beating Dino Blue by 8.5 lengths at the DRF was probably a career best, and yeah, he'll just win this. And I'd be in agreement around Captain Guinness as well. He's 0 from 5 at Leopardstown. Was good second, well backed last year. So yeah, he'll probably be the one to fill the frame. John Bond, around his jump in I can't remember which site it was, put up a video of him schooling the other day and said, oh yeah, it's brilliant to see John Bond schooling, and actually he was dreadful. So yeah, that's quite interesting. Yeah, El Fabiolo and Captain Guinness to chase him home.
Okay, El Fabiolo, best horse in the race. The Queen Mother Champion Chase. Up next, we're going to look ahead to the cross-country chase, which is race 5 on day 2. And Steve, you have requested to be first up to tell us who's going to win.
Yeah, this is going to be my bet of the whole festival.
Wow.
And it's Cocoa Beach. Gordon Elliott has won 6 out of the last 7 runnings of this. The going readings on the cross-country course, I mean, it's just an absolute swamp. Obviously, the way that Cheltenham's laid out, obviously all the water is going to be running straight into the cross-country course in the middle. That's going to work against his stablemate Galvin, who will be seen to better effect on better ground. I'm just a bit worried. Manila Rindo and Delta Work are both on their way down. Cocoa Beach at the age of 9 is still kind of showing all of his form. Gordon Elliott's got a good record of kind of throwing one in at the 11th hour in this race. He kind of did it with Tiger Roll when he beat Cause of Causes. He did it with Delta Work when he beat Tiger Roll, and tried to do it with Galvin last year when obviously second to Delta Work. Now, Cocoa Beach won at Punchestown a month ago. He'd actually shown good form over the conventional fences before that. He'd won the Troy Town, finished second in the Beecher for a mark of 162. I'd be worried about Delta work with his preparation. Like, I'd want to have seen more from his 3 runs so far this season. I know this will have been his target around this and the Grand National, but he returned lame in one of those, and I'd like to have seen more last time back over hurdles. If you look at their Grand National weights, he is technically the best horse in this race. Obviously, this is a conditions race rather than a handicap. Looking at the Grand National weights, Cocoa Beach is 161, Minella Rindo is 159, Delta Works 157, and Galvin's 155. So the handicapper thinks Cocoa Beach is the best horse in the race. He's coming into this in the best form out of all of them, and is available at 6-1. It actually wouldn't surprise me if Jack Kennedy gets off Delta Work, who's a 2-time winner of the race, and rides this. The interview that he gave and the smile after winning that cross-country chase at Punchestown was something to behold. And yeah, I think Cocoa Beach will win this.
Sold. Best bet of the week for Steve. Cocoa Beach in the cross-country. Willie, have you been swayed by what you just said?
I'm in awe. I think I'm completely persuaded. I might have a few quid myself. Unless conflated turned up, maybe he's very talented, but he's too quirky. I think he's actually dead right. He's a genius. No, pass it on. Leave me alone. Yeah, he's right. I'm completely convinced.
But are you convinced? I mean, you happy? We can go with Steve as well and just say.
Yeah, I'm on the cocoa as well at the price.
Right.
You won't sleep.
You know, you start at the top and you work down. You think, yeah, classy horse, Minella, Delta, yeah, I get that. Galvin, what was he, 100 to 30 to win a Cheltenham Gold Cup a couple of years ago? Maybe the ground might be wrong for him. The only horse in any semblance of running to his current mark is Cocoa Beach. So he's the one that will shorten up in the market. But funny enough, they used to call this a cup of coffee race, didn't they? Used to go out and make yourself a cup of coffee and come back when the race was over. So
You can have a cup of cocoa.
a cup of cocoa, yeah.
You stole. He was winding up for a big delivery of cup of cocoa, and Gavin came roaring in. Are you also going to back Cocoa Beach now, Gav, or were you always on Cocoa Beach?
That Wham song. My dad used to go around the house singing, "Wake me up from me cocoa,"
Wake me up.
instead of "Wake me up before you go." He done it for years.
Tremendous.
Minella Indo's a little bit short at 7-4. Obviously ran well around the track. He's 11. Delta Work is 11. Galvin's 10. Cocoa Beach is 9. Cocoa Beach is too slow.
How far do you want the race over? It's 3 miles, 6.5
I know that,
furlongs.
but they dawdle around. You still have to have a little bit of gears after 3 out. They come around, you have to jump 2 little small hurdles, and you have to have a little bit of gears. I think Jack will definitely ride Delta Work. He's won it the last 2 years. If it's a swamp, as Willie says, that'll be against Galvin. Tentative selection, Delta Work. Probably no bet in the race.
Okay. I'll just bow to respect for Steve here and move on. So that's a cross-country chase. A lot of us will be cheering on Cocoa Beach. The penultimate race on day 2 is the Grand Annual, and I'll start with Pat here. You can kick us off with what you fancy. What does the market say?
Well, as things stand at the moment, my mate Mozzie, I'm sure Gavin will have something to say about. He's just about heads the market. San Roy is there at 8-1. There has been money for Harper's Brook of Ben Pauling. I think Ben Pauling is having such a good run of things at the moment. People are backing his horses, whatever form lines they've got, but they are in good order. He's a bit quirky, though, isn't he, Harper's Brook? But he seemed to behave himself well enough last time. I quite like Liberty Hunter with a double B for the Liberty for Evan Williams. 2 decent recent runs to his name, and he'll come back over layoff for the race. So it looks as though he's been primed for the race. He's around about 12-1 at the moment. But again, there's plenty of life in this market. From a class point of view, my mate Mozzie and San Roy are definitely the 2 of interest, really. But I'm going to go with Liberty Hunter, who is 8 himself, but he seems to be improving. So a wide open race. Perhaps Harper's Brook. I see wisdom in it if he keeps on behaving himself the way he did last time out, but a tricky old race.
Okay. Willie, what do you like here?
I love it. Liberty Hunter. I think he's a lovely horse. Obviously, Matata form, but Evan Williams doesn't throw his darts much, and if he throws one at a race like that, he usually sticks. That's the only horse I'd look in the race. I think if Evan decides to run him, actually his daughter rides out, was engaged to one of our conditional jockeys. If he does decide to go, then he'll have a great chance. But I know Evan's always got bigger plans ahead. But if he runs, he's got a great chance.
Steve.
Yeah, one stat in this, 15 of the last 19 runners had run previously at the festival, and I don't think there's a horse in this field with better previous festival form than Samoa. He obviously was chucked in when he won the county hurdle, Finished third behind Honeysuckle in a champion hurdle, and then finished third behind El Fabiolo and John Bon in the Arkle last year. Now, they've been trying to play games with him. He's had 4 runs over fences, has been chucked out the back. If you look at how far he's been beaten 18 lengths, 47 lengths, 7 lengths, and 65 lengths. The Irish handicappers dropped him 2, and the UK handicappers put those 2 back on. But this has definitely been the target. He does also have the plate as an option, but yeah, I thought Samoa was probably the most likely winner.
Samoa for Steve. Gavin, final word on this race.
Samoa is a very good chance. I backed him a while ago. His run in the Danmore and Fairyhouse. If you want to see, if you look up the dictionary under the heading of eye catcher, you'll see Samoa running in the Danmore. Jumped brilliantly, knocked about by Jody McGarvey. Since then went left-handed behind El Fabiola, jumped poorly, but hopefully can put a line through that. I think Madara's got a great chance as well. Won at Cheltenham, won at Leopardstown the last day. Easily the best horse in Leopardstown. Jumped much better than Pat Doreau. Is in here at 143. So I'm going to go for Madara if I was backing a horse today. Also to mention 2 others. Safarur, I think he's better than what he showed. Enniskerry will have a fast pace. Harper's Brook is the biggest character running for the 4 days. And Liberty Hunter has a chance. So look, again, a handicap that's very open. And if I had to pick one right now, I'd say Madara.
Yeah, I'd love to see Harper's Brook leading over the last. It'd be fun to see what happens after that.
I heard somebody saying yesterday that even when he pulls up at the end, if he wins, and he comes down the chute and comes into the winner's parade ring, they'll still be laying at 1.01 on Betfair. Thought that was funny.
Okay, so that's a look at our penultimate race. One more race to go on day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival, and that, of course, is the Weatherby's Champion Bumper. A whole host of unexposed horses to kick things off with. I'll start with you, Gav. I mean, it's impossible.
I don't know where you start with this, Rishi. I don't know where you start. Jalan Dudery sets a decent standard, beats Redemption Day at Christmas. Straight away, Gordon says, yeah, he's going straight to the Cheltenham Bumper, ridden by Jack, so he has a chance. Jasmine Devoe, visually very impressive, good on the clock and Nace. The Yellow Clay was robbed in the DRF. Jeroboam Machan, if he didn't get injured, if he was here, he'd be 7-4 favourite. He was brilliant in the DRF. The Yellow Clay was very unlucky, got checked going up the inner. Had to switch around, finish 4th, but probably was the 2nd best horse on the day. And by all accounts, he's improved a lot since. You ought to know a 2nd in that race. Tishan, I wouldn't like. Argento Boy didn't beat a lot in Fairyhouse, but did it very well. Ruby seems to like him. Look, it's a really, really open race. Maybe the Yellow Clay each way, but just a token selection.
Okay, the Yellow Clay for Gordon Elliott. Pat?
Yeah, well, what I can say, we laid plenty of Romeo Coolio prior to him making his successful bumper. And of course, Gordon Elliott said immediately afterwards, we'll see him next in the bumper. But I'm with Gavin. I thought the Yellow Clay, I thought that race, Jeroboam Machin at Leopardstown, was probably the best currency out there. And you could mark him up as being a good 2nd in the race. I would expect him to reverse that form with the actual 2nd. You ought to know that day. The Yellow Clay looks to me a real solid each-way angle in the race. And like that, it'll be a big field because it's 6 to field at the moment, so they'll all have a bash. One horse I would mention, Tishan has been popular because of his reputation. But I was with Megan Nichols up at Kelso, and she said to me, what price is Quebecois, our other one in the race? And she said, he's pretty good as well, you know. So, you know, Tishan, he's the hot horse at the moment. He's about 7, and the other thing's about 25 to 1. She says, he's pretty good as well, you know. So bear that one in mind.
Exeter.
That's with a Q.
Quebecois, yeah. I'll go with that. Willy, anything in the bumper that appeals?
No, I think it's a very silly race to be gambling at this time. You may as well wait for the declarations. I'm just looking through it on my phone now. On Racing Post ratings, you've got horses that actually ran to a lot higher rating, that are a lot bigger prices. That Triple E Fry was quite impressive when it won at Lingfield, beating Kingston Pride. He's Racing Post rated 128, and he's 50 to 1. Then you can go and back a horse, 120 at Romeo Coolio at 8 to 1. So I'd say I'd wait to the day and see what it's about, but it's a flat race around an undulating course, which is, doesn't make a lot of sense. We've won it with Ballyandy, then we've had a horse like the new one that got stuffed in it. So for me, it's always a no-bet race. You get Q Cargo, win at 40 to 1, goes on to be a champion. It's a very interesting race of the future, but a lot of them don't train on, some of them do. It's just not a gambling race for me. I'd leave it alone and probably get in the car a bit earlier and beat the traffic.
And Steve?
What you do in this race is try and find a stat that at least fits one horse's profile, because it is a bit of a mess this year. 7 of the last 8 winners have already won either a listed or a graded bumper. And I think there's 2 in the whole lineup that do this. Brecon Castle is the one who really takes my eye in this. He at least has Cheltenham form. He won a listed bumper at Cheltenham in November. Has beaten Firefly, who's a smart horse, who's gone hurdling as well. He finished second behind Let It Rain in that listed bumper at Ascot. And the Let It Rain was quite a big gamble for this race before she was ruled out with an injury. He was trying to concede to her not only a sex allowance, but a £4 penalty that day. So I think you could probably upgrade what he did that day by finishing second. He's experienced, he's got course form, this doesn't look the best bumper in the world, and he's available at 20-1. So Brecon Castle for the Brookhouse family for me.
Okay, I'll just pass on a bit of information from Ruby. He says that Argento Boy, surprisingly, considering the number of Mullins horses, he does really like him, primarily because he says he's from the family of Briar Hill, and many of you will remember Briar Hill won the race at a massive price, and he said Briar Hill did nothing at home, showed nothing at home, and Argento Boy is exactly the same. He shows nothing at home, yet he went first time up, won his bumper, and so he expects him to run very well, and obviously at the prices amongst the leading contenders.
And he's got 2 eyes, unlike his brother who had 1 eye.
Thank you. That's the sort of information that Gavin has come all the way.
Nearly sure he has 2 eyes.
Well,
I know the brother had 1.
I mean, is there anyone who can verify that for us? I mean, anyone eye specialists out there?
He's one to keep an eye on anyway, isn't he?
Hey! Okay, down the line, best selections or best bets on day 2 of the festival. Steve.
Well, I mean, it's got to be Cocoa Beach, isn't it?
Yeah, Cocoa Beach. Broadway Boy.
I was about to pick another horse. I was going to Predator's Gold to be placed.
Predator's Gold.
Predator's Gold and Broadway Boy to be placed double. There you are. That's lovely.
Okay. Pat.
I don't believe the Yellow Clay can be out the first 4 in the bumper.
Okay. And finally,
Just had maybe Sam and Jess 6-1 each way in the Coral Cup.
okay. Well, best of luck with those selections. I mean, I really want Broadway Boy to run well because we've been following him all season long, but I think Factor File might be something special. That brings to a conclusion our Racing Weekly preview for day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival, brought to you by oddschecker in association with Bet365. Thank you very much to my guests so far. Still, lots more to come. We'll see you in a few minutes.